Hey, good morning from the office. I'm your host, BKP. We're North Georgia's only live online morning show. Now we have our first caller going to be at 9:08 this morning, so we got just a couple minutes, and we'll have Mark Silvers on the line with us. Before we start, let me set this up. Tragically, on Saturday, February 23rd, Terry Silvers, 52 years old, resident of Hiawassee, died in a fatal car accident. And at the time when he had his car accident that night, on that Saturday, February 23rd, he hit head-on Tracy Stewart, a grandmother in North Carolina, with her 13-year-old granddaughter. Ms. Stewart has had, and we'll get into the details, Ms. Stewart has had multiple surgeries, crushed her hand, has had to have several surgeries, and like I said, we'll get into those details. In fact, Stewart was transported to North Georgia Medical Center in Gainesville for specialized treatment. Stewart has faced 3 arm surgeries now, losing 3.5 inches of bone, and a medical pin was placed in her fractured foot. Fortunately, Stewart says her granddaughter did not suffer major physical damages, but is our understanding here at FYN, that she's struggling emotionally with what happened that night. Now, the reason we're doing this story in Towns County is we're looking at how it was handled by the Towns County Sheriff's Office, because the night before the 23rd, on a Friday night, Terry Silvers had an accident and ran off the road. There is a body cam. I have watched the entire body cam. I've taken notes on it. I watched it twice, about 37 minutes. He ran off the road, and there's a lot of questions surrounding should he have been allowed to drive away on Friday night? Should he have been allowed to drive away on Friday night to be able to drive Saturday when he died? Well, we're not here this morning. We want to be clear. We're not here this morning, or are we able to draw that full determination at FYNTV.com. But what we'd like to do is we'd like to open up the discussion a little bit, and hopefully maybe the Towns County Sheriff's Office, by Towns County Sheriff Chris Clinton, will do their own internal investigation concerning this, what happened Friday and Saturday. And this possibly is a part of some bigger things, possibly within the sheriff's office, that we're not aware of at this time. So we're going to have 3 interviews this morning. We're going to have, first of all, we're going to have Mark Silvers. Mark is the brother, Terry Silvers' brother. We're going to have Autumn Silvers, that is his daughter, Terry Silvers' daughter. And then Heather Seegers at 9:35 will round out our interviews this morning. She is the one that called 911 behind Terry Silvers that night, followed him into North Carolina that Saturday night. And that 911 call has been listened to through our website 33,000 times. So this is a story that, whether anybody wants to acknowledge it in the Towns County Sheriff's Office, is something of very big interest to the residents of Towns County. And so as soon as, what we're going to do here, so you know, as soon as we get our callers on the line, Josh is going to give me a thumbs up, let me know we have our caller, all right? And after that, we're just going to take like a 15-second break to make sure, so don't go anywhere. We're just going to show our card for 15 seconds just to make sure that the caller can hear me. So we're awaiting our first caller. Until we do, also, we have not invited, okay, our caller's on the line, so just give us 15 seconds here. Okay, could you put Terry Silver's picture up here? This is the gentleman that died on February 23rd. This is Terry Silver's on the screen. We're going to keep him up here through our interviews. We now have on the line with us Mark Silvers, Terry Silver's brother. Mark, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good.
First of all, we want to say, we're sorry for the loss of your brother. And we know your family at this time is going through a lot, and especially through everything that went on. So we wish you and the entire family well through this time of grieving for your brother Terry.
I appreciate that.
Let me ask this now. There's a lot of things surrounding this story, and we'll take it easy. I watched the body cam. Okay, now are you the one that showed up that Friday night to pull Terry's truck out?
No, that was my brother Travis.
All right, so that was not you, but your brother Travis went to pull
Yes,
it
sir.
out. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, you were not with Mark. You were not with Terry that night, but Terry had suffered throughout the years. I guess he just could not totally break the addiction of drugs in his life. Is that something that your whole entire family had to deal with all these years with Terry?
Yes, sir, it was. It sure is. We tried to get him help. He went to drug court and all that, and I just felt like that night before he got killed, the night before he got killed, that anybody in the right mind would have seen that there was something wrong with him.
All right, so he did go to drug court. Now, how long ago was that he went to drug court?
Probably about 2 years ago, a little over.
All right, so how long was he out of drug court before he relapsed and got back on drugs? And can you tell us what kind of drugs Terry was involved with?
Well, I don't know exactly what and everything he was on, but I know he went to the methadone clinic over there.
Methadone clinic.
Yeah.
And how long was it after he got out of drug court before he started back?
It was probably a month.
So it wasn't long after the graduation he was right back abusing drugs.
Yes, sir.
All right. Let me ask you this: on that Friday, now Terry cut firewood and delivered firewood every day. Is that what he did?
Well, most of the time when people would call him, but me and him worked together most of the time.
Did the Friday night that he had the firewood on the truck, did you see him before he left that night? Now, this is the Friday night on the accident. Did you see him before he left?
Is that the night he got killed or the night before?
No, night before. The when he had the accident on Friday night.
Up here on Buckscuffle?
Yes.
Yes, I seen him all day, and he was pretty high.
He was all right. What? Now, how do you know? Because the deputy that was there that night. I'm not asking you because I don't think you're intelligent enough. I don't misunderstand that. But how do you know when somebody's high? Have you just been around Terry that long?
Yeah, well, I'll just be honest. I used to be that way myself, but not like he was. And I paid my prices, and I've been straight for 16 months now, almost 19 months. But I never was like he was because, I've got health problems. But anyhow, my brother, when he got on stuff, he just lost his mind, couldn't drive everywhere he go. And a lot of times I went with him trying to get him not to drive, but I couldn't do it. And then, like you said, when he wrecked, people, the law let him go. So I figured if I called the law on him, they'd let him go again. So, but Terry was the type that when he got on stuff, he'd misplace stuff, just couldn't correspond out in the world. People talked to him and he'd cuss them out, you know. But Terry, I knowed when he was on it because he'd fall asleep half the time when he'd like that, just fall over.
So on that Friday night, not the night he got killed, on that Friday night, you saw him before he left. What about once he got pulled out and got back home? Were you still under the impression that Terry was on something as far as drugs?
Yeah, because he come home and said, Mark, I'm going to be honest. You know, I think the reason that officer said it was shift of wood, but anybody in their right mind could look at him when he was asking the officer about, do you have this number or that number? You know who here lives in it. And when he sat there like he was on the phone, you could tell he was kind of wobbling a little bit. And not on that, when he come home, he told me, I'll just be honest, Mark, I fell asleep.
Fell asleep.
Yeah.
Do you think that wood shifted? Because I looked at the truck when it went over when it went down over the side. Do you think that's what shifted it to the left? Because he claims it shifted when he was on the road.
No. I've rode with Terry too many times, you know, and I know when something shifts and when it's not. Even if that is going too fast, but when you look at where he wrecked at, you could tell he was in the straight. And there's no way he could have shifted the wood and run off the road like that unless you know, or you're going too fast or something was wrong.
All right. Well, the last question I have: was that the same load of wood on the truck Saturday night when he got killed?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that load on Friday night that supposedly shifted, that load was still on the truck Saturday night. He drove around with that same wood.
Yeah, and we don't know today where he was headed to North Carolina because he come home wanting us to go with him to show him sell it here and sell it there, but he never had it sold. He was just trying to get it sold. But why he went that way, we have no idea.
All right, now the Saturday that he got killed that night in Hayesville, North Carolina, did you see him that Saturday?
Yeah, he was around the house all day. We tried to get him to not leave the house, but what could we do, you know?
Well, so when he left the house Saturday, you knew he was intoxicated with drugs on that Saturday.
Yes, sure did. Yeah.
When you say you tried to get him not to leave, what would he say to you?
He'd say,
what would he get? Would he get? Well, I mean, yeah. Go ahead. What would he say?
He would just get ill and do this and threaten you and all that and cuss you, call you every name in the book. And I told him that night when he wrecked up here on Buckscup, I said, Terry, what's it going to take for you, son? I said, killing somebody or letting this whatever you're taking control your life, or it'd end up in the grave. And it wouldn't. 3 hours later, he got killed.
Well, now the sheriff's office released the body cam, which I did watch, and it seemed as though. What did your other brother, the brother that went and pulled him out, does he feel the same way as?
Yeah, he knowed he was on something too. That's right. When that cop said you don't need to be a driver anymore, my brother just laughed, but he didn't want to say nothing, you know, because he didn't want to get involved in it.
He didn't want to get involved.
Well,
Well, look, we appreciate you coming on. Is there something while we're on the air? Is there something you wanted to share? Because we have other people coming on.
Well, yeah, sure. I feel like that officer, and I thought as my understanding of the night that he got killed, that when the Bono come out, it was him. The 112 is what my understanding. He'd done been to 2 wrecks, and I believe in my heart when that Bono come out, he heard it. And he seen who it was and didn't want to respond. I really believe that, and I'll go to my grave believing it.
So I do know this from the body cam. It is correct that 112, that I understand from the body cam, that Deputy 112 that night that was the second time he had responded to a wreck with Terry.
Yes, sir. And one of my truck, I don't understand why either. My truck, when I was in jail a couple of years ago, back in 2018 or 17, I forget which it was. He told it. I just talked to him 4 times that day, begged him to not to be a driving, and he said, I'm fixing my truck. He tried to take my gas tank off and everything because he thought it was the fuel pump, and it wasn't the fuel pump. But that night he wrecked, That was the night he left the scene of the accident, and the law was called, even the one where he wrecked that, called personally, I guess, to the main sheriff's office, wanting to speak to the sheriff, but unfortunately, she said they didn't call back, and even people told him he leaving the scene of the accident, but we don't understand, 911's got the records, but the sheriff's office ain't, so I don't understand that myself.
All right, so let me just finalize this because I got to go, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you for coming on this morning. But what I hear you saying is the officer, is your words basically, the officer has dealt with Terry so many times, and even said that night he needed to stop driving. And your opinion is that he knew it was Terry that night, and he just didn't want to fool with him.
Yeah, I actually believe that. I really do. Not only that, in that cam, you could tell that record service when he come and asked that cop if he was on something, and common sense, if he can tell, that cop should have known,
Okay, Mark, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. I've got somebody else coming on in 1 minute.
That'll be fine.
Thank you very much for joining me this morning. Okay,
Thank
folks,
you.
You're welcome, Mark. Okay, folks, we're going to wait for our next caller, and we should be getting another call here. That was Mark Silvers, brother of Terry, and on the screen is Terry, and our next caller is supposed to be Autumn Silvers, Terry's daughter, so we'll wait for that, and then after that we'll take a brief break, and then we'll have our 911 caller, and after our 911 caller, I'll give you a little summary of which way we're going with this story and what's going on here. So again, we're awaiting our 920 caller. Josh is supposed to let me know here. And again, on February 23rd, that night, Terry Silvers, did you give me a thumbs up? Okay, we have our next caller, so give us about 10 seconds. Don't go away. Let's go, Josh. Okay, we're back. We're going to put up again. This is Terry Silvers. Terry Silvers died in a tragic accident February 23rd. Joining us now is his daughter, Autumn Silvers. First of all, Autumn, thank you for being on the show, and we want to extend our sincere sympathy, and condolences to you and your family for all you're going through at this time and the loss of your dad.
Thank you very much.
Autumn, let me ask you a question. I just had Mark, his brother, on. Now, as far as your father's concerned, that night on February 23rd, are you aware of the magnitude and the frequency that he abused drugs?
I don't think it was a secret. My dad's lifestyle, I don't think it was a secret from anybody. He did struggle with substance abuse for a very long time, so I think a lot of us did know, actually.
So basically, everybody in the community, I get the impression, and not trying to editorialize our discussion, but I get the impression that Terry was a great guy. He just could not get rid. I watched the body cam. He seems like a great guy, but just could not get past this drug addiction. Am I going in the right direction there?
Yeah. We all have our demons, and I just think that Dad could never get rid of his. He was clean here and there, but ultimately he always faded back to old habits.
All right, so he did go to drug court, and he did graduate from drug court. How long after drug court did he start abusing drugs again?
To be honest, I don't really have an answer for that. Never lived around. I lived 2 hours away, so I wasn't, there all the time. I would say it was at least a year and a half afterwards. Mark would probably know better than I would. about the actual relapse time after drug court.
Okay, now what is your, as far as talking to all of your family, what is the general consensus of the family and yourself on the 23rd? Do you feel that your dad, on not on the 23rd, on the 22nd, obviously on that Friday night when he had the accident, is it your understanding from the family and what you know is that your dad was impaired that night with drugs?
I don't want to speak for the whole family because I do know some people have different views, but I think for the majority of the ones I have spoken to, I do think we all believe that he was impaired that night.
And I've talked to Mark this morning right before you, and your other uncle, I forget the name, that actually pulled the truck out. And Mark said that he also felt that your father, Terry, was impaired that night and should not have been driving. Is that what they have shared with you?
Yes, I do know that Uncle Mark and Travis shared the same views, as well as other cousins, that he was impaired and should not have been driving. Not even just that wreck. There were several wrecks before the night before that could have been prevented where he was impaired and had wrecked also.
Now I've not talked to you, so have you watched the body cam footage?
I have watched parts of it. I haven't watched it all the way through.
Okay, so when you watch the body cam footage and see your dad, now law enforcement, I can't make a judgment on whether law enforcement did the right thing that night or not, and that's something that could be investigated. But as far as you, his daughter, do you see the body cam footage and look at your dad and think, oh my God, dad's pretty rough tonight? Or what was your impression when you started to see him on the body cam footage?
There were I didn't watch most of it, so it's hard to form a big opinion, but I did see some parts where he was definitely out of it. At one point, he asks if they can tow his house back to the house instead of his truck. He's just, he looks really scared. I don't know what exactly to say because I didn't watch it all.
Well, your uncle said he admittedly told him that night that he was asleep when he had the accident. He fell off to sleep, and maybe this accident, woke him up, and he was, really startled, in that video.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question now. Obviously, the officer let him drive away, and it's yet to be seen. Have you been involved with the toxicology report and the autopsy? Have you been involved in that as his daughter? Do you know any details on that part of the investigation over on the North Carolina side?
Last I heard that we were still waiting on a toxicology report. I'm not sure whether or not they actually did do an autopsy, but I do know we are waiting on the toxicology report.
Has anybody give you any indication of how long that would be?
Last I heard, when he first passed away, that it was going to be a month after, so should be coming up soon.
On Saturday, when you found out that your dad had been killed in a car accident, what was your first thought? And as this is unraveled and you're reading things and you hear the 911 caller, what was your first thought Saturday night as you're finding out your dad has been killed in a car accident?
I actually got the call when I was at work, so I was in a lot of shock, but probably about 15 minutes later, after I found out, I had texted my cousin, who I'm really close with, that let me know that he passed away, and I knew that it was a car accident before she told me, just because, it was his thing, kind of.
I understand. The last thing is your uncles after the car accident. Did they tell you the same thing concerning that Saturday night and your father's death, that they felt he was out driving and should not have been on that Saturday, as they did tell you the same thing about the accident on Friday?
Definitely, even more so on Saturday. It was definitely known that he was not fit to drive Saturday.
Have you asked the Towns County Sheriff's Office for an answer on why they let your dad go that Friday night?
I think it's just kind of in the works. I don't really live up there. I think we want to get around to that at some point. It's just a lot going on all at once from social media and everybody commenting, and something we eventually want to get to, but it's just difficult timing. But definitely that is a question that needs to be answered.
Okay, well, Autumn, listen, we want to thank you so much for joining us. You've been very helpful. We're sorry about, again, the loss of your father, and we wish you well. And, if any other information comes up you want to share with us, you know how to get in touch with us.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Okay, we've had Autumn Silvers on the line. It's Terry's daughter, and Mark Silvers, his brother. Now, when we return, we're going to take a brief commercial break, and when we return, we're going to have Heather Seegers. Now, who is Heather? Heather is the one that made the 911 call that Saturday night, followed Terry all the way into North Carolina. You probably listened to the 911 call 33,000 times that it's been listened to. You're probably one of them. You're going to meet Heather right on the other side of this commercial. We're going to take a brief break, and then we'll talk to her about that night that she followed the same thing with the bolo, and then after that I'll have a brief wrap up on this story and the next direction we're going in with it. I'm your host, BKP, FYNTV.com. Take us a break.